Tony, how did you find carnivore?
Well, it starts a long time ago, really. I've always loved eating, and I've always put weight on easily, and so I could go back 50 years. So on day one, no, I won't do that. So I've always struggled and always had to yo-yo diet basically, and then jumping forward to about 30 years ago, I found Atkins. So as many people, we start with Atkins back in the day, and from then on, well, apart from one time, which I'll come to in a moment, that was my diet. But it's a yo-yo because you haven't given up, you haven't lost your cravings for sugar on an Atkins diet. So it was always I did very well for a while, lost weight, felt great. Then you come off it and think you've done it then, and then of course you've still got your cravings, and then for the next few weeks you're being reasonably good, but before you know it, you're stuffing your face again. I might even go the sort of diet I had before. I might tell you, frightening when I think back now. So that carried on for many years, and then it became keto, of course, and I was well into that as well. And it wasn't working. And then sometime, probably maybe about 15 years ago, I decided to get serious about it, and I went to a clinic, a diet clinic near me, looked really interesting, and I did a full-on. So I had a weekly visit with a doctor, and it was a very specific. I had one meal a day, which was basically broccoli and fish, frankly, and then the other meals were little sachets of soup, and then a sachets of drinky stuff. And I was really good. I mean, I lost a lot of weight. I mean, I started off probably about 4XL, if that means, or 3XL probably, and then went down to M, medium size. So, and luckily I've still got the clothes; they're in the loft, so I'm waiting to get back there. So I lost I lost everything. In fact, my friends would say I looked ill, and looked gaunt. And that was okay. And then afterwards they say, eat sensibly, like a proper mixed diet type thing, as they say. And that was all right for a while. And then, of course, you haven't given anything up, have you? So before you know it, it all goes back on again. And then I was back on keto and back on yo-yoing. And then back in July 23, so my stepmother, who's in Denmark, and I'm seeing them at Christmas, she was here, and she's overweight and has all sorts of pains, and still has, unfortunately. And I was trying to talk her into, well, at that time I would say that I was on keto, but I was stuck. I hadn't been losing weight for a while. I was stuck. And so anyway, I was talking her into the benefits of being on keto. And one of the things I said was that, and she said to me, "Well, that's a bit too extreme for me." I said, "If you want extreme, you should try carnivore." Now, at that time, I thought carnivore was like keto plus, just basically. So I'm thinking, oh, I could do that, because I'm thinking it's just, just giving my keto diet a bit of an oomph. And I picked up the name keto. So how did I find out about keto? Literally on the recipes for keto I'd seen on YouTube, and it would say this is a keto carnivore recipe. So that's the first time I heard about the word carnivore, was the fact that it was linked.
Just looking at those recipes, you saw like this is a keto one, this is a keto and carnivore one, that kind of thing.
Exactly that. And so I literally at that point think I can do carnivore then. And actually all I was doing was giving up salad. And just a quickie aside on that, which I think is so true. I was listening to Kerry Mann, and he was saying the reason why you like salad is because of the dressings you put on it. And I'm thinking that's so true, because I literally would hunt through I didn't know about seed oils and things then, so I'd hunt through the recipes for all these all the ingredients for these seasonings and things, everything for salads, and I'd cover it with spicy this, that, and the other, and cheesy this, and he's right. That's what it was. Anyway, so all I was giving up at that.
It's like Brussels sprouts. No one likes the Brussels sprout. It's just a vehicle for other things,
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a big subject on Brussels sprouts as well. So I was straight onto carnivore. So what I actually did at that point, remembering I'm coming from keto, so what I did from that point is that I actually over the next week finished off. I don't like throwing food away, so I finished off all my keto food in the fridge. But at that point, from that point, I didn't buy anything that wasn't carnivore. And I went out and got a book. I haven't looked at this one here, which I recommend. Actually, I don't know if it's still in print. I mean, it was 3 years ago I bought it, but this gave me the whole history and science and why a carnivore is good. It gives me recipes which I haven't really used. But anyway, so I got the book because I'm more a book person than online, really. But from that point on, obviously, I'm watching you and Kerry on Homestead How, a lot of Ken Berry, and in fact, everybody came in there. So everybody, all the names that people quote, and I was overdosing then and finding out all about it. But I would say that I immediately took to it. And I haven't veered from it since. That's over 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2 years and a month and something.
Right. And
yeah.
you notice a big difference between doing keto and then doing carnivore?
I would say more than that. Slightly controversial, if you think. I don't think keto works long time, and I think keto is the perfect stepping stone to carnivore, and that is, in my mind, its main purpose. Because however strong you are on keto, you're not getting rid of your addictions. That may be. I mean, we're all different. We're all different, aren't we? And but that I couldn't. Although I lost weight on keto and felt good and so on. Although nothing like as good as you feel on carnivore. Carnivore, I think, is the magic, because carnivore, you lose all your addictions. You feel. I mean, I feel so good. All the pain and everything has gone. I go into that, but for me, carnivore is perfect. So when I went on to carnivore, all I knew it was a weight loss diet. In fact, I don't even like the word diet on carnivore, because I think it's a complete way of life. It's just the natural human food. I'm not in. Yeah, I think that although strictly it is actually a diet, but the modern meaning of the word diet is this short term, starve yourself and then come off it and then pig out. I mean, when I was going back and forward on carnivore, even on keto, so if I was knowing that I was going to go back onto keto in a week's time, would I have stuffed myself in that week? I think, well, I must have that loaf of bread before I start keto, and I must have those donuts before I start keto, but it wasn't until after I started. Even after that, it was when I was watching your interviews and mostly Ken. I watched Ken Berry a lot. I think he's great, and in fact Kerry as well. Kerry Man Homestead How. I didn't appreciate at that time that it was gonna, recover me all my pain and aches and God knows what else I had. I gave that not a thought, and I mean, so I had really bad arthritis down my right side, bad hips, ankles, terrible knees, terrible. This hand was all over the place. It was horrible, and my left hand a little bit, but down my left side I had sciatica. So I had a sciatic nerve that would come into play and give me pain after quite a short time of standing up. All those went. I mean, I think it was less than a week. I mean, just ridiculous. And even now, I'll do it for a laugh. And I was thinking the other day, because I was literally, I'll get up from the sofa here like that. I could not have done that. And every time, I mentioned it before, but every time I think I'm amazed every time I can do it. I'm looking over there in front of me here are a stack of walking sticks that I was collecting at the time because I was looking for. It's sad, really, because I was looking forward to using them. But I'll live with it. I'll live with it. And so that went really, really quickly. I mean, there's all sorts of other things as well, obviously, that you get from carnivore.
Did you lose weight from July 23?
Oh yes, of course, yes. But and I've mentioned this to you, but I'll raise it here because it's a big factor. I'm still an addictive person, although I'm not. So after I started losing weight, I sort of shifted my emphasis from feeling good, because people out there will know that it's not just all your pain goes, your mind clears, you're sleeping better, you just feel on top of the world. I mean, it's just a magical thing. And so I slipped from worrying about losing weight. I'd lost a lot. I probably lost 70 or 80 pounds by that time. I've lost more now, I'll tell you about. So I was feeling much better, down a few sizes, and able to get up. And so I slipped into comfort mode. I didn't at any point feeling any inclination. I guess I'm lucky. I don't have a sweet tooth. I love being a carnivore. I love it. And so I just slipped into being carnivore. And so I started sipping my whiskey in the evening again. Now, whiskey has the great benefit of having no carbs. And so I would drink whiskey like most people would drink a glass of wine, really. And just I sort of sit in the evening and just slowly, through the hours, have a sip here and there. I mean, the benefit of that also is it stops you nibbling, because I think that. But so that actually, for quite a time, stopped me losing. Well, I lost a bit of weight after I started doing that, and I stopped and start, because I can just stop when I want and start. I get fed up with it and stop. But it sort of slowed down the weight loss. But I didn't care, because I was really feeling great. And then you contacted me about 3 months ago. Do you remember? Something like that. I don't know when it was. And I thought, oh, blimey, I know this is something else. Oh, blimey, I better pull my finger out here. And so I sort of got around to the idea of refocusing on losing weight. And so, you can take the credit for stopping me drinking again. So a few weeks after that, I just stopped dead.
Oh, well done. Oh, nice.
And I can do that. It didn't affect me. On the negative, I don't feel any better stopping, but I don't miss it. I literally don't even think about it now. I've still got half a bottle in the cupboard there next to the coffee. But I just don't, I'm not interested. And since then, I've lost another about 26 pounds in the last couple of months.
Wow.
So I'm back on losing weight again. So thank you, Dave.
No worries. So now that you've lost weight and you've got more energy, I guess you're somewhat feeling lighter on your feet as you move throughout the day?
Well, much lighter, and that makes a big difference. But actual fact, getting a bit close, it's actually the loss of pain that makes the biggest difference. So one of my hobbies is I enjoy doing car boots. Car boots around here are massive, so there's hundreds of cars in a field. So when I did it before with the pain, I would really struggle. I couldn't do it really. I did some of it. Now I can go back and forward and for hours walking up and down, looking and also sell there as well. So I'd have a stand there, so on my feet for hours. Again, I couldn't do that before. So it changes everything. Even my volunteering, I do volunteering at a place which is 30 acres, and we have big events and things. There's a story there. Well, a few stories there actually. I'll come back to you later. So it changes your life.
Sorry, just to go back to a second, can you explain what's car boots?
Car boot is like garage sale, I suppose. It's where we all go along. They do it across Europe as well, but basically, you load your car up with all the stuff you want to sell. You drive into a field, and you all line up in hundreds of rows. I mean, it's just thousands of cars there, and everybody puts a table out in front or puts it on the floor. All the things they want to sell. So if you're buying, you've got to go up and down the rows of the car, looking at every table, see what they've got to sell. And then, of course, you have to go back and start at the beginning and go back again. It can take hours of walking, hours of walking. It's great fun.
Yeah. So, do you ever what are you looking for? Are you looking for
Well,
historical things, or?
I collect old books, and I collect various things, and I love old things, or anything that's, and also things for the house. You might want a new vacuum cleaner or whatever you might want. I'm also now, because I'm selling there as well, I look around for things that I can resell at a profit. So I look to buy something for £1, but I think, well, I can get a tenner for that, So and I quite enjoy that as well. But it's a lot of time on your feet.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
it's just an example. I mean, I love doing events. I love talking to people, you can see. And so I love doing events. So I volunteer at a place where we have big music events and all sorts of things. So, I'd struggled doing that before. And if I did do it, it would have been painful. Now I can do it easily.
Right.
There's a few stories. Remind me, because I'm going to go off at tangents if we're not careful. So remind me of the stories there that I want to talk to you about. But
So, how do your friends feel about this? Or, like, do people know that you're doing this diet? They've obviously seen a difference in you.
everybody knows. I love being a carnivore, and I tell everybody, not just friends. People I volunteer with, all my friends, all my neighbours here. I mean, we had a street barbecue a few weeks ago. They know I'm carnivore, so it was easy on a barbecue because I was just eating all the burgers and sausages and chicken, and I have no problem ignoring the salads and the cakes, and they know I'm carnivore. And some of them talk to me about it. I mean, I have these talks all the time. There's one neighbour. I mean, it's sad really because I know so many people are in pain. So I talk to people who know I'm carnivore. They don't believe. They ask me each time they see me. There's lots of stories here, so we'll go on to that now if you want. They ask every time they see me, "Are you still on that diet?" As if expecting to say no. I had scurvy, and then of course I was constipated, and I had to come off it. So when I say no, it's great, I'm loving it. Look, they say you're looking good, so it kind of, they almost like blank it out because they don't want to accept it. They're mostly just too indoctrinated. I don't have any problems though, apart from my brother a little bit, but I don't have any negative. It's either they're interested, and I'll tell you some interesting ones, or it just goes over their head, and they sort of ignore it. Or they'll say, "Well, that sounds interesting, but I can't give up my cake." Yeah, so I'm doing this event. We had thousands of people there. It was one of our best ever events. And afterwards, I was talking to the other volunteers and staff. We were having a little meeting afterwards, counting up the figures and patting ourselves on the back. And one of the girls who works there had to sit down. Now she's in her 20s, she said, "Well, I'm getting old." It was like an embarrassed excuse. So it turns out she's in her 20s. She's got bad arthritis in her knees and sciatica as well. And she was saying it runs in her family a bit. So of course there's me. I start talking to her about carnivore. I said I can cure that. And so I had a little chat with her on carnivore then, and I think she'd heard about it. And so I saw her a few weeks later and gave her a big talk about it, and recommended she listen to your programs. I'm seeing her in a couple of days again, so I'll see how she's doing. I tend to recommend you and Dr. Ken Beck, Berry. So he's the sort of science side, and you're the stories of how wonderful this diet is. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure that I'll get her onto carnivore, and her mother as well, because she went back to talk to her mother. But I have a lot of this. One of the hobbies I have, which has other benefits actually in carnivore, is I've got a camper, an RV. So I go off camping. I take it away and park up by a beach and stay there for ages with a barbecue. Obviously, barbecue on carnivore is fantastic. So I have the barbecue fixed out there, and of course, so people see me and they're parking next to me, and I'm very talkative, and we all have a nice little natter. And I'm cooking my eggs and bacon for breakfast, and they're getting jealous. And then in the evening, I've got the steak and sausages frying, on the barbecue there. So they all talk about it, and so I have a lot of talks with them. And I've persuaded a few. There's one bloke who I met again a couple of months later, and he'd gone carnivore, except that he wasn't going to give up his cider. But there we go. And there's I think a woman really in her 50s who's very, very fit. I mean, she's and I sold her a kayak because I saw her taking a kayak out one day, and she borrowed it from a friend. I said, "I've got one of those and it's for sale." So I sold that to her. But she's got horses, and she rides horses. She brings the horses down the beach, takes the horses out swimming at sea. It's fantastic. And she does marathons. all sorts of things, super fit. So I'm nattering away to her over a pint, and it turns out she's had all sorts of pain, arthritis, and everything. So you can't tell. I mean, she's slim, and looks perfectly fit. So you can't tell. I've found so many people have got pain. They've got pain that they they don't say. So I was talking to her about Carnivore. I'll see her again hopefully in a few weeks' time. See how she's done. So quite a few people
Wow.
I've met on camping.
And so your friend that went carnivore except for the cider, how's he doing when you
Oh, I
saw him
haven't
the
seen him
second
since.
time?
I'll
Oh,
meet him down there again, I'm sure. They basically come down because where I camp, there's a sort of live camera. So that if they see me camping down there, they're only a couple of hours away. They dart down, and so it'll be interesting to find out.
Tony, like, how are you eating day to day? What's your meal plan?
And this is an interesting I wanted to talk about. I'm concerned that some talks, and certainly on the doctor side, make carnivore sound too complicated and overwhelming. Whereas in my mind, it is well, by far and away it's the easiest diet, but also the improvements are astronomical. But so I want to take it back to ease. I don't. So I'm a food, not only a foodaholic. I love food, and I still love food. I'm also a shopping aholic. I love going to food shops and buying food, and that was always a problem because I love buying food, so therefore I had to eat it. And so I eat two main meals a day. I have mostly bacon and eggs for breakfast. Um, um, that varies slightly. I might have sausage or something. I found some new sausage strips, sausage rashers, which are lovely recently. I mean, I'm always looking for interesting new things. And it's also a case of perfecting the scrambled egg. And I was using creamy milk, but now I'm trying it with cream. And I've been trying it a bit with more butter. I've been listening to a few more of yours, and people have more butter than I do. So I started putting butter all over. But I find that a bit too rich. So I've gone back. And then there's different bacons. So I have that now a few hours after I get up, normally 2 or 3 hours after I get up, which is different from when I was not carnivore. Of course, I'd get up within 5 minutes, I've got the toast on. But so now I'm not starving. I don't get hungry. I don't get hangry, of course. I used to get hangry a lot. And I can miss a meal, no problem at all. Doesn't bother me if I'm doing something. And then I eat generally around breakfast about 7ish. And then in the evening around 5ish, I will have my main meal. Now I alternate. So I love ribeyes, of course. Ribeye is to die for. Although even when I was keto before, I hated steaks because all I'd had was these chewy fillets and sirloins. So even my friends would say, we've got to go to a restaurant where we can't just have steak because Tony doesn't like steak. But I'd never had ribeyes before. It makes a difference. They are gorgeous. So I have a ribeye, which I buy from a discount supermarket here. They're sort of £7 or £8. But I'm buying nothing else, and I'm convinced I spend less anyway. So I have ribeye in theory every other day, and I'll have that with maybe a burger or a couple of small sausages or something to give me a bit of variety. A couple of things on the side. And then the other days I'm experimenting. So I have chicken wings I still like, although I'm fading away a bit from chicken wings. I'm spicy and crispy. I found my local butcher does some amazing big pork chops. Look very fatty with so plenty of fat on. So I'm loving pork chops at the moment. And I've gone back into lamb. I'm trying more at lamb out. I have fish. I have a salmon. I don't have salmon much because I'll only buy wild and it's quite expensive. I only have that probably once a month. A bit of smoked haddock I like. Scallops I quite like, and I wrap them with sort of bacon and things. I don't have those so much. And I've even gone back to a little bit of liver. Because my butcher that sells me the pork chops is not so good on steak. Although I say that, I bought a ribeye from him the other day, which was gorgeous. But generally, they're too lean and expensive. But I found that he does these sort of thin slithers of liver, which you just after I finish cooking, you just do 30 seconds each side, and actually that's quite nice. So I'm having that a bit more now. So I'm looking out. The other day I was at a supermarket, a normal supermarket, Tesco's, they have this brand of sausage, which are very pure, a brand called Heck over here, and they did these sausage rashers, very thin slips of sausage. So I had that for breakfast yesterday, I think. But then I'm not going there anymore because they turned all their checkouts into self-checkout, and I hate that. So I'm not going. So then I thought, well, how am I going to get them then? So I went online and I found I can get them directly from Heck, directly. So I ordered them all online. And then I found that they did loads of other things as well. These lovely steak and butter burgers and steak and butter meatballs and chorizo sausages and things. So I bought a massive great box of stuff from them. And I'm always buying ahead of time. So I've got a couple of freezers, and I always buy ahead because otherwise you can end up, I go to the butchers or the supermarket and they've run out of ribeyes, or all the ribs are too lean or something. So no, I'm still just as interested in food as I ever was. I love every meal, and I also so I jumped then. So I still at the midday, I'll often have a little sort of cold meat snack, a couple of slices of ham. Oh, this other one, which is important actually. I also have frankfurters. Now, I was feeling guilty because I thought frankfurters was some processed thing, but I looked at the ingredients and they looked perfectly good to me. And then I was looking at a Ken Berry video the other day, and he's talking about how to keep the cost of carnivore down. And it really is not expensive. I mean, happy mince and burgers and everything are beautiful, and you can cook them so they're delicious. And anyway, he was talking about frankfurters. And he was saying that they're so good for you. They're kind of processed, but they're not processed. If you look at the ingredient, or do look at the ingredients, because there are some with sugar in, but they're basically pure meat with some spices and salt. And the meat is this high jet. It's basically where they recover all the gristle and meat and cartilage and bits and bobs from various animals, which sounds bad from if you're not a carnivore. In actual fact, he's saying that is the goodness. What they get out of those, and they sort of munch up into these frankfurters. And he was saying that you could live on frankfurters. How about that? And I could live on frankfurters. So in other words, frankfurters has everything you need to live. There's a Ken Berry one saying that. So now I proudly have my frankfurters for lunch every day.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
So if I want a snack, I'll pop out and have a frankfurter.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
I'm getting my cartridge and all
that. So, you've been doing this for it's over 2 years now.
Yeah.
The cravings have gone?
I didn't really have cravings. I've got no cravings at all.
Right.
I have no interest at all. You could put. I don't know why. I've even got a problem. Not a problem, but I've got a birthday in about 3 days' time. With 3 days' time, and I'm thinking, well, what should I treat myself for my birthday? So, should I go out and get a loaf of bread or have a Chinese? And I just don't. But I want to have some, little treat. I'm still working on that, but it doesn't bother me. I mean, I do. Let's say that I do at times break it. I might break it at Christmas. Well, I do break it at Christmas. But I go straight back on afterwards. It doesn't mean anything. And I might, so I might go out for a meal with friends, and if they're cooking or they're going to a restaurant and it's all Sunday roast or something, then I eat. It's not a problem. And I just, it's one meal, and I go back. I may, if I overindulge, I'll put a couple of pounds on, and then I lose them a couple of days later. And I will, I will have a socially, I will have a beer. I have the Pilsner. Pilsner is where they processed all the sugar turns to alcohol, so it has low carbs. I think it's something like 5 carbs per 100. So you still, if you have a pint, it's still So, but I have one, maybe two. If we're having a great time, I might have a third. But it doesn't do any harm. That's like rare. So I don't worry about that.
So can I ask, how old will you be in 3 days?
69.
69. And so a lot of people kind of say, I'm 50, but I feel blah, 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 or I'm 60 and I feel like this.
No, I definitely feel 30.
Really?
Oh, yes, without a shadow. Well, I kind of don't feel any different from I've ever felt, really. So I can't even think of it. I can't think really of a time that I was feeling better. I mean, I must have been more sprightly in my 20s, I suppose. But yeah, absolutely. So all that feeling as you're getting older and you're coming up to retirement and you've got all these pains, and I mean, there's others as well. There's one. I'm going to go off at tangents now. Sorry, but another one to credit to you. So having given up alcohol now for what 2.5 months, one of the things I had for years was a distortion in this eye, and I knew what it was. It's a little sort of block vein at the back, and it's a little bulge at the back there, and it was going to be sorted out, and then COVID happened, so we never got around to it, and I didn't do it. But I've noticed, and it didn't bother me because your brain corrects things. It didn't bother me, but I literally noticed only probably a couple of weeks ago. I thought, blimey, that's definitely better, and it's so it is nowhere near as distorted as it used to be. So I'm thinking that maybe that must be the stopping the alcohol. People shouting at the screen saying, "Well, of course it's the blooming alcohol." But yeah, so that is definitely improving. And I forgot to mention a few things actually. This eye used to flicker, but I
Oh,
think that was
like a twitch.
like a twitch. Yes, and it happened for years and years. I can't remember when it went, but I realised that I haven't had that for years. Now that may have been keto, but I'm sure it still flickered when I had twitch when I had was on keto. But anyway, that has gone. Obviously the gums used to be painful, and that's all no problem there either. Teeth are in trouble, but the gums are okay.
Right. So, there's no going back for you now?
No, I literally cannot imagine. I'm never going to go back to vegetables or salad or even fruit. I can't go back to fruit. Knowing what you know, and I don't have any desire. The only thing I slightly have is bread. But then I say to myself, if I want bread, I'll have bread, and then I don't fancy it because I mean, in your mind, it seems quite sort of bland and it bloats me. Um, and there's a risk. So no, I mean, so here's a slightly different story that I wanted to talk about. I think it's very important, and that is, and it is, I'll bring it back why it's associated, and that is that RFK Jr., who's heading up health sector in America. Now he's got connections obviously with, I mean, he has to know everything, and he obviously knows Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and so on. And I sent you a link some months ago. I don't know if you remember, of his first speech after he became when the first state, which I've got a feeling was Maryland, but I'm not sure, said that they were going to go whole foods. And in his speech, he mentioned carnivore twice. So he's trying to get America, all you Americans out, to eat whole foods. But in that talk, he mentioned carnivore twice about it, carnivore being the magic cure. Now I've heard from several sources that he's now carnivore. Doesn't surprise me because he knows everything. So he is carnivore plus. So the person in charge of health in America is carnivore, and he is carnivore plus. So he's carnivore plus nuts, plus dried fruit, and plus fermented vegetables such as kimchi and sauerkraut. Well, I used to enjoy kimchi, so I bought a tub. I haven't had it yet, so that's interesting. I mean, it's very interesting for us here in England as well because we've got a certain rising political party, and the advisor to RFK Jr. is a chap called Dr. Asim Malhotra, I think his name is, and he's advising. He started off advising about COVID and the jabs and all that sort of stuff, but he's also from what he was saying, a big speech he did, he understands that we're not getting the right information from our health service. America, of course, have pulled out of WHO now, but the same advisor to RFK is now advising this particular on the health board of this particular party. So I'm hopeful that there is future here. That it will come out one day. It will be certainly as strong as keto. I've no doubt. But anyway, so because he's having no interest in nuts or dried fruit, but I do quite like the idea of having like a spoon of kimchi. So I might try that. So the story is when I've achieved a weight which is a few sizes down from where I am now, which will be, over the next 6 months to a year, I will probably adapt it a little bit, but I'm never going to go back to anything. I'm not even going to go back to keto. It will be carnivore. I mean, in fairness, and I haven't. Well, yes. So here's my cheats then. So I have bacon and eggs for breakfast. I do have a sprinkle of this sort of what they call egg topping, which is a mixture of herbs and spices. Just lifts it a little bit. And the other thing, don't tell anybody, but I also have a squirt of Heinz ketchup. Now, the supermarket I go to, they did for a while this no sugar, no added sugar, and no added salt ketchup. Only one supermarket I found it, Heinz ketchup, no added sugar. And when I wrote it on each time I bought it, I wrote it on my shopping list. I wrote it as ketchup zero. Thinking about Coke Zero, and blow me down, they've changed the name. They obviously heard me, and they've literally, if you're on the shelf now, you look up ketchup zero, it is sugar-free ketchup. And so yeah, I do a little splurge of that on my breakfast, and I use spices and things on my. Actually, I don't put any spices on steak because I love the flavour as it is, but I do put some spices on pork and obviously chicken wings and stuff like that, and fish. But that's it really. That's it.
So, have you been to see a doctor in the last 2 years?
Another interesting question. The answer is no to that. We don't have much of a health service over here. I mean, it's very good that it's free, and if you're in serious trouble, there's some good backup there. But otherwise, it doesn't really exist. So I haven't even had nothing. But I've just been contacted. So I've got to give go in for like a 1 minute blood, where they take a little bit of blood, and you take a little urine sample, and then you take my blood pressure, which I've taken, is perfectly okay. And what normally happens is I get a text a week or two later saying no action required. So I don't understand any of these blood works. We don't have any of this number thing over here. A1Cs, LD, I don't understand any numbers. So we don't have any of that, which is weird, isn't it? But I'm not sure that this might be a review. I've never met my doctor, but I have spoken to her once a few years ago on the phone. That's the extent. But whether a review, there was an implication that this might be a talk to the doctor, which will be very interesting. So I'll be happy to have a talk on that. But frankly, I just go, if I feel good, and which I do, everything's fine.
So that's the point, though. You don't feel like you need to go and see a doctor at all, right?
No, not at all. No, not in no way. The trouble with it now is I'm not sure I trust. I wouldn't take what they say anyway. But I wouldn't be rude. I just say I'm on Carnivore. I don't take any tablets now because I gave up all my. I was on statins. Stupid. I've stopped that. I try, and I've stopped blood pressure ones. I don't take any because we don't need any supplements. I mean, the money we save. I have no supplements. I get everything I need for my steak and eggs, butter and everything else. I don't. I mean, the most common question, I swing about all over the place here, but the most common question I get from people I say I'm a carnivore, I get two questions. One is, how do you get your vitamin C? Well, I didn't know that originally. I thought it must come from eggs, but it comes from steak. Two things. A, there's enough to get what they say you need on vitamin C. There's enough vitamin C in a pound of steak. I don't need a pound of steak, but carnivores don't need so much vitamin C because the chemical composure of vitamin C is similar to carbs. So, and carbs is stronger. So carbs cancel out vitamin C. So if you're not having carbs, you don't need so much vitamin C. So I get all the vitamin C I need from beef. And the other one, of course, is there's something else you talked about. The other one is fiber. Where do you get your fiber? So that's a great one, because you just say, well, you need fiber because you've got all this plant material that the body can't deal with to clear out inside your guts. I don't have any of that. So this is a benefit. Obviously, we have much less human waste, which is a big benefit for camping. Anybody out there in their RVs, by the way, you fill up the cassettes much slower, and it's so easy to stock the fridge with all your steaks and bacon. Yeah, so yeah, your cassette lasts longer when you're a carnivore.
That's a benefit that I hadn't considered.
Yeah, you are. You see.
Oh, nice, nice.
No, big
Um,
benefit. Oh,
so
the other thing. Oh, yes, the
oh
other thing
yeah,
I wanted to mention was, and I saw it again on the other day, but it's not mentioned much, and it's a massive thing, and I've worked it all out. The statement that carnivores don't burn. Well, obviously, if they regarded me as a witch, they probably do regard me as a witch. They can burn me at the stake. I burn, but I've done a test, not a purposeful test, but without a shadow of a doubt. So I've sat on the same beach in the same weather. So in the year before COVID, and I never use sun tan lotion, whatever it is, with sun protection stuff. So I'm sitting there, literally from dawn to dusk, being a mad Englishman, and I just cooking myself here, and on my head, of course, and of course, so 2 years ago, I burned badly, stupid idiot. And I went in and got some, cream to put on, take the pain away. And of course, it all peels. But last year and this year, I've done exactly the same. I sit there all day, no protection, not worried about, cancer because I haven't got, and it just goes brown. It just goes brown and it doesn't peel. So that will stay there now until, it'll fade slowly until next summer. But so no peeling and no burning, no pain. And I think, well, why is that? Because I didn't believe it myself to start with. Well, the reason is because it's sugar that burns. So if you make toast, the toasting bread is the bread with sugar and it browns. If you try to cook or toast say a sourdough bread or something, it's got no sugar in it. It doesn't brown. So we brown or we burn because of our sugar content, and you are what you eat, and we haven't got any sugar. So I mean, it all makes sense. And of course, we haven't got because we're not eating inflammatory stuff. We're not so at risk anyway from that. But yeah, so the idea that carnivores don't get sunburn. I mean, obviously you can overly be stupid, but honestly, it is much more difficult to burn as a carnivore.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I do much better in the sun now, but also I agree with what you just said there. It's like if you overdo it, like I, I I have to accept that I'm still Scottish, so
Yeah, I know
and
that.
I've hidden from the sun my whole life, so my bursts of sunlight have to be less than the average
Yeah,
person, but my skin
yeah,
copes with the sun better.
exactly. And you're getting all that vitamin D, natural.
Yeah, and yeah, and it feels much better,
Oh yeah,
because like not being afraid to be in the sun and actually realizing how good you can feel if you're just sitting in the sun. It's
oh,
amazing.
absolutely. Yes. No. So that's great. So sitting outside my camper van, then I'm happy.
So how often do you go away camping?
Oh, not as much as I went away in April, May, June, July. I don't tend to go away in the summer because it's just rammed out there. So I've been using the camper van as my base for the car boots I do, and then I should go away later this month, and or October, and even November. I'll go away and it should be okay.
Wow, so
See how
you
it is now.
stay away for quite a long time.
No. I go away, a week or 10 days at a time, and then I come back.
Oh, I see.
Um,
I see.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah. I don't go. I don't. I'm not away for all those months. Sorry about that. Yes, no,
Ah, yeah. Okay. It's just
just
during
the
those
month or
months.
two. Just during those months, I go away.
Someone comes to you and says, "Okay, Tony, I'm ready to start. I'll give Carnivore a go for 30 days. What do I need to do?" What would you tell them?
I would, and I do get asked this, of course. I would want to know some things first because it makes all the difference. So first of all, it depends where they're coming from. If they've got keto experience or they're into keto, then that's an important factor. I want to know whether it's just weight they want to lose, or it's mild pain, or a serious illness. And I think that makes a difference. If you're just wanting to lose weight, as they just wanting to lose weight, it's important, but I would take it much slower, and I would go through the obviously the keto route fairly rapidly, because there's a risk if you don't do it. If you have it going too long, there's a risk of you slipping off it. So I would want to, basically wind down over 2, 3, 4 weeks, as quick as you can, cutting out as much as you can. And if on the other hand you're in pain, then that's slightly different. I would probably say, and I didn't have any keto flu. I had 2 bouts of diarrhea, but and that was it basically, and I was in. So I never experienced keto flu. But if I wanted to, if I'd learned that there was a cure for the pain or the illness and serious illness that I've got, I'd want to dive in like I know you dove in. So then I would say, take some time off work because it's important. Stay near a toilet, and basically I'd probably just plunge in. But there's several other things that this is what I say. The first thing I would say, almost before you start anything, you've got to have motivation and belief. And so I always quote 2 YouTubes. One is yours, and to be honest, I put yours at the top because I think there's so many wonderful stories. And they're so inspiring, and for every different avenue. That I think the relationship between people is fantastically motivating. And then if you want the sort of scientific and proof from a doctor, then for me, I always pick Ken Berry. But as soon as you start doing that, they're all going to plow in on the YouTube feeder anyway. So then, and I did that. I overdosed. I overdosed in the first months of all the carnivore stuff there. But so I think first of all, you've got to have motivation. You've got to see the truth of it. So by watching videos, you think, man, you think I want some of this, especially if you're in pain. And so it depends on them. It depends if they've got a sweet tooth. I don't have a sweet tooth. You could put any amount of cake and donuts in front of me. I have no interest, and cake and sweets are no interest at all. But some people, of course, have that addiction. So you've got to obviously wind yourself off it. So clearly, if it's losing weight, then I would take your time. Arthritis is a very interesting one because it strikes me that virtually everybody I start talking to at any age, and this is a modern disease, of course. It's hidden. You don't see it. It's not like I've got arthritis over your head. So many people are suffering from pain, and literally it goes within a week. I think 2 max, doesn't it? Really, it just goes. I mean, if I started eating carbs again, I've got to warn people it will come back. So you're not actually curing it, but it takes all the inflammation and all the pain away. So that's my thing. I would want to know. I would give them motivation. And also, Dave, you haven't asked me this, but I wanted to say something. I want to encourage anybody watching this. So I'd be interested to know if you know that what mixes people who watch your channel, what mix between people who are already carnivore and people who are aspiring to become a carnivore. I would be interested in that. But I want to say to people who are carnivore, contact Dave. This is a great experience. It's so easy, and so I want to say the process. So basically, you email Dave. Dave, I'm happy to have a chat. You come back. You have a little sort of email back and forward. You set a date with a link a week or 2 later, whenever's convenient, and you press the link, and here we are. And I'm there's no equipment. I mean, Dave's sitting there with all these big microphones and earphones. I've literally got an old Samsung tablet balanced on some books. I'm sitting on my sofa. I've got no lighting. I drew the curtain slightly there, turn that light off up there, and I'm just sitting here and I'm chatting to a friend. Well, hopefully, it not only is it good for everybody, it's actually good for you because you become motivated as well. And also, it's nice to talk to somebody about carnivore, especially if you haven't got people around you talking about carnivore. So I want to recommend people give Dave a quick email because it's a good experience. And you can't go wrong. He edits it anyway. I could say anything now and he'd edit it out. So, you can't go wrong. Anyway, I just want to say that, Dave, because I think what you're doing is so important.
Thank you for that. And, you bring up a good point. It's also good for me because I've got no one around me that can speak about carnivore either. So it's good therapy for me too.
Absolutely. And you feel part of a club.
Right.
It's great stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. So Tony, if people want to reach out to you, how can they get in contact?
I'm not on social media, but I've given you my email, so you're welcome to put that email down below. And what I did last time, which worked quite well, is I'll look at the comments afterwards, and if I see things up there, I'll reply to them. That worked for a bit last time, and then for some reason it stopped. But I will have a look at the comments probably a little later on because I've got to go out now. I'll if there's any questions in the comments, I'll reply to them.
No worries. Thank you very much, and I'll put your email in the show notes.
Yeah.
Tony, appreciate you coming back on and letting us know how things are going. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. See you next time.